Welcome to She Chose Joy, where we discuss all things love, freedom, wellness, and joy. I'm your host, Melanie Foote-Davis, also known as the Soul Whisperer. Have you ever been discounted because of someone else's limited perception of who you are? I have. And my guest, Michele Aikens, CEO and lead coach of Clear Insight Coaching and Consultant, knows a bit about that too. Michele helps individuals and organizations navigate challenges with insight, empathy, and humor, including leaders from organizations like Chief, McDonald's, the Obama Foundation, ThreadUp, and US Cellular, to name a few. Michele is an author of 5 books and 3 dramatic plays. She uses storytelling to inspire growth and change. And her life's mission is to turn on lights for people so that they can see that what is in them is greater than what's around them. And she's definitely turned on the lights in my heart, mind, and spirit. And so I'm happy to share her with you today. Let's dive in. Well, hello there, Michele, and welcome to She Chose Joy podcast.
Oh, hello, Melanie. And I am just joyful being in this room. Your joy is infectious. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, thank you. And this is about joy. So I'm just checking in. Is there anything that's feeling really good and exciting that's bringing joy to you in this moment?
Interesting question. Well, let's start off with a bang. Okay. My inner introvert is feeling really joyful today because we're traveling and I am while my husband goes to his client, I can work here. And it's a beautiful space and my creativity is being ignited. And so I'm working on some things and it just feels very joyful to just be able to create in beautiful space and see the fruits of it. So yes, I'm joyful about that today.
You know, thank you for sharing that. There's something really beautiful about being able, like when creativity kicks
Hmm.
in unexpected moments and spaces and time, it is something really delicious about that.
Mm.
Yeah.
And lest I just take us on a track, when you talked about creativity, we have a whole category of people today. They're called creatives. And we expect them to look a certain way and to be a certain age and to have a certain kind of eccentricity. But we, women of our age and our mothers and our grandmothers, were
Mhm.
the original creatives. They figured out how to make something out of nothing. And most of us didn't even know it was nothing until we got grown ourselves. So, yes, creativity is beautiful, especially when we observe it in people that we don't think of as creative.
You are so right. Like sometimes we have this tendency to put things in a box. And
Hmm.
so if you're not an artist as we know it,
Yeah.
or, a painter or a writer or musician or something like that, a designer, we tend
Mhm.
to ignore that creativity still exists within us in other ways.
Yes. Yes. And what
Yeah.
do we call it corporately when it shows up? We call it innovation. But really, look at that solution. How innovative. I'm sorry. Yeah. That creativity and create are my favorite words. So,
Yeah. It's funny, even thinking about it, because I'm thinking about my dad. And sometimes I joke with my siblings to say we could have actually been Starbucks because my dad used to make coffee, iced coffee with vanilla and
see,
cream and sugar and things like that when we were younger. So he was making iced coffee back then. And now we get to call it a frappuccino.
right. and pay $17 for it. Creatives.
So you know what? Let's build on this creativity. Um, you wrote this amazing book called Consider the Possibilities. I don't know, can the lighting show it? There we are.
Yes.
Ah! And one of the things that there's several things you mentioned that actually ties into creativity, but one of the things you talk about is how words are creative.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm. And we
Our
often
words
hear like words have power, but I don't
mhm,
know if we ever think of it as words are creative.
do.
Mm.
And I believe the words that you use, because I believe we're three part. We're spirit, soul, and body. And
Mhm.
so the words that you use create your reality because we were created to be creators.
Mhm.
And the way that happens is through our words.
Yeah.
Um, I and in the book I talk about being a stutterer
Mm.
as a little child. And there were probably a lot of reasons for that. But that was my identity.
Mhm.
And so my mother put me in a program that was supposed to help that. And guess what? She overheard one of the teachers using words that didn't line up with her vision of who I was. They were
Mhm.
making fun of me. So she yanked me out of the after school program and took me to the most unlikely place that you would take a stutterer, to the church greeters. And every Sunday, one of us had to say a prepared welcome speech to the congregation. And I
Wow.
go back then, even those women who took on that assignment, they were teaching young women how to stand confidently before a crowd, how to remember what they were supposed to say, how to
Mhm.
add inflection and emotion.
Yeah.
People pay a lot of money for that nowadays, but
Mhm.
they did that. And the reality was, the word that described me went from stutterer to speaker. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And how amazing is it that your mom actually saw the opportunity? She was resourceful
Yes.
and innovative and
Yeah,
creative in her thinking in terms of, I see another possibility for my daughter.
exactly.
And here's something like, and I don't know, I wasn't there for the conversation that God possibly had with your mom that led her to know like, we're gonna try this.
Yeah. And neither do I. And my mother and I have never talked about that,
Mhm.
although I have thanked her for doing it a lot of times, but I didn't know her process. Now, moms tend to exaggerate. And my mom said she was a young mother.
Mhm.
She didn't have a high school diploma,
Mhm.
but she had this child. And so they would teach me scriptures and I'd learn them. She says, at 2 years old, you could recite the 23rd Psalm. I'm like, Mom, that sounds like a little bit of an exaggeration, but she exists as true. So we're going to let her have that. The point was, they taught me words and I learned them
Mhm.
because I believe the inner compass in all of us recognizes when something has come to stimulate our direction.
Mhm.
But she took me to church and the pastor had never seen it. He said, don't teach her anymore. That's too much for her young mind. And so she thought she had done something wrong. I believe my mother was following what her inner compass said do.
Yeah.
Okay. It scared her a little bit. But when she saw this happen in the third grade and she put those two experiences together with the
Yeah.
stutterer and the person who was able to learn words at a very young age, she followed her instincts. She followed her inner compass. And I believe that that is something that our society has talked us out of over and over and
Mhm.
over again.
The same way that pastor did, not intentionally, but they
Nope.
they put limitations on what was possible for you and said
That's
that
right.
was too much for a child. And just
Yes.
because they hadn't seen it before didn't
Right.
mean it wasn't possible for you, and that there wasn't an opportunity to really expand on that. Um, and so those are all the subtle ways that, someone said something about, what, I don't know what happened to these kids. I said grown-ups. Yeah.
Oh,
There are so many different ways that we unintentionally created barriers and limitations on our children, our families, our communities. And
yes.
so we get to break that and
I
help
love that.
people to reimagine, what's possible. So yeah. And I'm going
Just
with your mom. Maybe parents do exaggerate. I don't know. I'm going to think about. I may have some stories that someone may think I've exaggerated about my kids or grandkids. But I'm going to believe if your mom said you were doing that at 2, then you were.
okay. Okay. Oh, I'll give you that. And I am going to use that quote. I love what you said. What's wrong? What happened to these kids? And you said grown-ups. I'm going to use that. You'll see that again, and I will attribute it to you. But
Yeah,
that's an important statement.
because
There
even
are,
like in the book,
mhm,
like you talk about how our inner compass will lead us to curiosity. And
yes.
let me make sure I don't misquote you. So I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
But you said it will lead us, that it will use curiosity and natural gifts to lead us to where we belong,
Yes.
unless the inner compass is tinkered with. Who
Yes.
tinkers with those inner compasses?
Here we go.
Adults, wounded
Adults.
people who have lived a little bit, have some lived experience that's been here a little more than we have. It's unintentional. They want to protect us, but they tamper it with it.
Yes.
They
Yes.
stifle it. They say, stop doing it, and everything talking about exaggeration. So here's one. Here's an exaggeration that parents did. Everything was extreme. Stop
Mm-hmm.
before you fall and break your neck. Why not twist your ankle,
Right.
sprain it, stump your toe? You're going to break your neck. Like, we had to go to the extreme.
And put your eye out. I don't know anyone who has ever put their eyes out.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so maybe parents do exaggerate, going back to what you said.
But you know what? They're the other people that we pass by. One
Yeah.
of my favorite thing to do is to read and watch Black ballerinas. Because in
Mhm.
the second grade, Mrs. Olson asked us, what do we want to be when we grow up? And there was that classic picture on the wall with
Mhm.
all the ballerinas in a circle and their toe was pointed out. And I said, I want to be a ballerina. And she said, Black girls can't be ballerina. And whenever I see Mr. Misty Copeland dance, I
Yeah.
think to myself, the second grader in me comes out and says, I
Yeah.
was right. Now, no, I'm not going to be a ballerina. I'm actually I used to be one of the clumsiest people I know. But I do help people learn how to enjoy life. I
Mm.
do help them figure out how to dance through this journey,
Yes.
even with it. So, yeah, I'm like a ballerina. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
We have those little comments that are told by respected people. The pastor, I didn't hear his words. It's probably good that I didn't.
Yeah.
Um, our teachers, people that we grow up believing, and sometimes fearful parents. Because I don't know about your age. My parents grew up in the South in the 40s and 50s.
Mhm.
They have a different mindset.
Yeah.
They had reason to be afraid of people who stood out too much. So
Yes.
they intentionally helped us mute ourselves so that we wouldn't be noticed, so that
Mm.
we wouldn't be harmed.
Yeah. The intention was to keep us safe, right?
Yes, that
Yeah.
was the intent.
Yeah. And so, yeah, the intention, because that's just it. Like, there's intent and then there's impact. And they
Exactly.
did not know that it was going to stifle us or cause us harm, because in that moment, it did keep us safe, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And we're seeing, I have a goddaughter who's a journalist, brilliant woman,
Mhm.
but she helped me to get educated out of the mindset. This may be controversial. How, as women, we automatically, my mother automatically rushed to the defense of any Black man who was being accused of something
Mm.
because it happened so much in the South when it
Mhm.
wasn't true.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff is true. And so
Yes.
we can't automatically embrace that same mindset. But it is an example of how the times that we live in and the
Mhm.
mindsets to protect shape our responses.
Yeah. Absolutely. 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 I'm just thinking about that. Like, even like, there are stories that I wish I knew from my parents, like you said, because my parents were born in the 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and we grew up in Southern Maryland. And there are stories that I have never heard. And there's so much history, so many stories that we didn't I didn't hear that I would like to have known. Because my mom, for some reason, I know she did not necessarily, she had community, she had God, she had family, a close-knit family, but life wasn't easy for her. So I do know about some of her personal challenges, but she
Mm-hmm.
had this way of still seeing the good in people.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Same.
and
And I
so I
love
know that that's where I got it from. And so she didn't spend as much time sharing. We had that in our private talks because she and I shared a lot of secrets. But
that.
um in terms of a lot of my parents' history and what they experienced, their fears and all of those other things, there are things that I just may never know. Because those who would know them have gone on too. And so that makes me think about even my grandfather and how much I didn't spend as much time listening, asking questions from him. He lived right next door to me.
Ooh.
He would do things or say things, and we thought he was making it up. But as I sat with it when I got older, the things he said really did make sense. Like, he didn't really he could tell time by the sun and things like that. He had a lot of wisdom that we didn't really appreciate enough to take the time to tap into and learn from, you know. And again, he's not here for me to ask now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just even thinking about that and the things that's happening now in the world where, you know, older people aren't considered, from small fonts on phones and documents to expecting them to use automated systems and not talk to a live person for everything. Um, there are a lot of things that aren't really being considered, which reminds me of something that we were talking about the other day, um,
Mm.
around how women of a certain age, like, there's so much beauty there, and yet they also are carrying the weight of feeling irrelevant.
Yeah. And interestingly, most of the clients that I work with
Mm.
are women over 50. We'll go
Yeah.
with that.
Mhm.
And this sense of knowing that people corporately are
Mhm.
looking to upgrade you. We don't want to say replace. They want
Mm.
to find a younger you. Uh, and feeling this pressure that one, it's a very different world than when
Mm.
they started working
Yeah.
30 years ago. And so feeling the pressure of being in a changing world that is not kind necessarily to people of a certain age, but knowing that there's still a bunch of innovation, creativity, a bunch of passion still in you, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to put that out to pasture. And so, yeah, the feeling of being irrelevant in the world that we live in is a big one,
Yeah.
whether you're retired or not. And so, encouraging people to consider some new possibilities is why I wrote that book. In fact, if you don't mind, I did find an excerpt
Okay.
for women of a certain age. May I share it?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see here. Um, it is uh, consider the possibilities if you disrupt your own complacency. And when we get to a certain age, many have accepted that life will always be this way, and there's nothing I can do about it. And this is when we start talking about at least. At least I have, dot, dot, dot. But
Mm,
what would happen if you disrupted the mindset that says, stay put, stay safe? What would happen if you took a terrifying step towards what you were created to do? That step can be anything from telling one person about your desire to move in another direction, to starting a social media campaign to bring attention to your new project, to creating your first design, or even booking the trip. Hi, I'm Michele Aikens, executive coach and author, and I specialize in helping high capacity leaders align their inner values with their outer goals. In my 6-week group coaching program, Clarity, you'll experience a supportive space for reflection, clarity, and growth. Through powerful questions, deep listening, and guided insight, you'll uncover what's next and gain the confidence and tools to pursue it with purpose. If you're ready for a shift, let's rewrite the script together. Go to micheleaikens.com and click on the tab Work with Michele. Look forward to seeing you. So the big hurdle is not my age. It is that at a certain age, if we're not careful, we'll become complacent.
mm,
At least I have this.
yeah.
At least I have that. And do you know, would you mind if I shared the definition of at least according
Please,
to Google?
please do.
At least. It is a phrase that means not less than at the minimum. And here's number 2. If nothing else, used to add a positive comment about a generally negative situation.
Mm.
At least. So
They-
when we say at least,
yeah.
it's not a good thing. We're saying, well, at the very minimum, I have this,
Mm,
which implies that there's more.
mm. Yeah, it minimizes so much.
Yeah.
It minimizes the experience that we're going through. And I've been guilty of it before in the past, years ago. So, for example, if someone had a car accident,
Hmm.
they're like, well, we can replace the car, but we
Hmm.
have you. So there may have been an at least that was implied.
At
You
least you didn't die.
right. You still have it. You didn't get hurt. That might like you're still alive. You still have whatever.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that doesn't, yes, they're both true. You didn't die. You are still here. We can replace the vehicle, right? We're glad that everyone is safe. However, an accident can be a very traumatic experience for some.
Hmm.
Like not
Hmm.
everyone, but for some. That could be
Yeah.
something that is a huge shock to their nervous system.
Yeah.
And when we do that, when we hyper focus on the positive outcome without making space for, well, how are you? How was that for you? I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. We are also discounting, you know, the fact what damaged the car in the first place, and how they may have experienced that and what they may need in the moment. They may not be ready to get to the at least you didn't die. And I'm
Right.
glad you're
And
safe.
you know what? And
Be well.
yeah, yeah. And in that context, I agree with you. We minimize the positive. Um, well, we minimize the negative in order to accentuate the positive.
Right.
But for many of us, at least is us minimizing the positive and
Mm.
magnifying the negative.
Yeah.
Well, inside of me, there is an artist who wants to create, who wants to paint great cities, but at least I have a job. And
Mm.
so, what are you saying to the artist?
Mm.
What are you saying to the passion? You're saying, well, yeah, you're nice, but at least I have this minimum thing that sustains me emotionally. That's the part.
And then here's the thing, but does it
Mhm.
really? No, it keeps us up at night. It can
It
cause us
does.
to go into, like, some of us end up depressed behind it.
Yes.
All of these
Yes.
other things, because it's like stuffing down a part of you that wants to come alive and be
Yes.
fully expressed and
Yes.
experienced and all of these other things. And yes, we do have a job. Yes, we have had a career. Yes, we do have, some sense of security, right?
Hmm.
And yet we aren't feeling safe enough to be a fully express us, because we only get to share the part of you that you're willing to accept.
Yes. Yes.
Or I say the
And
part of me that you're willing to accept, right?
right.
What's more comfortable for you? And so if you can't see that there's something else for me, then they will even co-sign on our at least statement,
Yes, they
right?
will.
So whether it's knowing, I mean, I know that polyamorous is a thing and all
Mhm.
of that. And so there are people that is right for them, and I'll leave that there.
Yeah.
However, there are people who do not believe in it. And yet, when you know that your partner is having an affair, there are some that says, well, at least he comes home to me at night.
There's another one of those at leasts
Hmm.
that have been perpetrated on us as women.
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever saw the movie Claudine, but Claudine was riding on the bus to work, and she was there with some other day laborers, women working as domestics, and they were talking about their relationship. And one of them, who was pregnant, said that the husband had come home. He had gone away
Hmm.
with his other woman, but now he was home. And the comment was, well, a dirty pair of pants is better than no pair at all.
Hmm.
At least,
Hmm.
at least.
Yeah. And that's a perfect example of how at least is showing up in our conversations and in
Yeah,
our relationships, even when we're not hearing the words,
that's right.
that there's some unconscious at least, which in many ways is settling.
Yes, in many ways.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is the interesting thing about getting older. I believe the older we get, the more insistent those dreams become, the
Mhm.
more insistent those passions become. And so it takes more work to push that stuff down and
Yeah.
act like it doesn't exist,
Yeah.
because the compass is saying, you know what? We've been telling you this is where you're supposed to be.
Mhm.
But a lifetime ignoring a compass, an inner compass, doesn't make it stop pointing in a direction.
Yeah. And to be transparent, when I read that part in the book, it hit differently, right? It was so relatable to me. It is the thing that can show up in sleep. It like disrupts the sleep. It is the thing that shows up uneasy. It is that thing where there have been times where I've been doing the thing just to be doing the thing,
Hmm.
um, to at least say my body is there. But there was
Yes.
a part of me that was longing to step into that dream, that creativity, that longing, and it doesn't let me go,
No.
right? You know, and so even, when I think about that, even I remember sharing with my husband one day, it's like, this doesn't feel like a dream. This is
Mm.
a calling. And there's a difference for me in
Yes.
terms of the way that it pulls and tugs at my being. And so I'm sharing this with you. And I am in this moment inviting the listeners to really be with that for a moment, with what you said about, I think I may have even, hold on, it may have been something I tagged. I'll try to find it. But you talk about that in the book too. And it's like that whole piece about it being that you can't ignore it anymore.
No. No.
Yeah.
It is as if, because I believe that we are all here, and I'll talk about why compasses are so fascinating to me while you look for it if you like.
Yeah.
Um, but I believe that we're all here for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And we are built, we are designed with a compass in us that leads us to those situations that
Yeah.
that align with who we are, who we were created to be, how we were created to impact the world.
Mm.
And I believe if you impact one person, you impact the world.
Yes.
And the reason compasses are so fascinating to me, though I'm not a hiker, I've always been too afraid of getting lost. Um, but when I studied the compass and found out that the reason it works so well is because it's not tied to your state of lostness. It is tied to the equator in the earth. And
Yeah.
so wherever you are, the compass is not tied to your being lost. It is tied to what doesn't change.
Yes.
And the reason that you were created is the reason you were created. That doesn't change. It doesn't matter how lost
Mm.
you might feel. Your compass is always going to point you in that direction. As we said, unless somebody has tinkered with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And compasses can become demagnetized by coming in contact with a source that messes with the magnetization of it. Then it stops working. And so some of us may have come in contact with sources that nullify our compasses because some second grade teacher told you at a time when your mind was forming around your identity that you can't do that. And so
Yes.
that's something that's got to be confronted and overcome in order for that compass
Mm.
to work again well. Sometimes the voice of our detractors speak much louder than the voice of purpose because we've had more time with them. See, there's a funny story, and it's ironic, about Chris Rock's mother telling him, "Boy, what are you doing? You can't make any money acting a fool." And
Mm.
so,
Mm.
from the Tonight Show, he said, "Look, Ma, but if you hear
Right.
from the time that you're old enough to understand this is not who you are, this is not what you can do, then you've got to overcome those hindrances to your inner compass."
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so much to unpack with what you said. Like, even like, I keep going back to that it is like magnetized, but like it's attached to the earth, right?
Yep. Yes.
Not your lostness. And
Right.
sometimes we're hyper focused on the lostness.
Yep.
We're so focused on the lostness that we're losing our own connection to the earth. And so even with things like, that's why we when we recognize it in the simplest form, like when we take a walk and we notice a tree, that's
Mm.
another way of us connecting back to the
Yes.
earth and
Yes.
giving us a moment to gain access in here. And if we keep moving as fast as we keep doing, trying to do everything quicker, sooner, faster, then we lose sight of being able to go in to even connect to, we can't follow the compass because we can't hear it, see it, or feel it. We don't
Oh,
even notice it when it shows up. And when we do, we're afraid of it. Like it
yes.
scares us to pieces.
It's unfamiliar.
So unfamiliar, so unfamiliar. And
Yeah.
so that's like still just ringing in my head. That
You
is
know,
lost.
it's interesting that you brought that up because I was, my background, my training is in organizational leadership. And when I am talking to executives, a lot of time, one of the things I'll hear is, I don't, I can't feel my creativity. I don't know what to do. I can't make a decision. And I ask them about their week. And in the program, I failed. My grade was lowered 3 times on an assignment because I couldn't get this one right. And it was called the Leader and Balance. And there was an assignment to sit quietly for
Mm,
an hour and write down what you observe. Oh my goodness. In that hour, I wrote down our treaties on books, all
mm,
kinds of stuff.
yeah,
Grade was lowered twice until I actually did the assignment. And I
mm,
noticed the birds start singing,
yeah,
not when the sun comes up, about 20 minutes before it comes up. I learned my favorite summer sound was cicada. I learned that it's okay to be quiet. I don't have to surround myself with noise. And that exercise was designed to replicate how leaders can reset their creativity by shutting down.
mm,
We don't shut down. We don't even perceive our compass because there's so much noise and clutter that we have to move to get to it.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
you're right.
yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of it, like one of the beliefs around that is that I don't have time to
Yeah.
shut down. I don't have time to slow down. I don't have time. I remember one of having a really powerful moment with someone when I simply said, because they showed up to the call, like really rushed and everything else. And
Mhm.
all I said was, I have time for you. So just
Wow.
take a moment to just be at ease. I have time for you. And it was really incredible. Like, when I reflect back on it, how whole body just like softened.
That's a
And
very
it brought,
powerful.
yeah, it brought her to tears because it's just that. If we keep believing this notion that we don't have time
Mm,
and there's not enough time, we are totally tapping into scarcity, that there
yeah,
is not enough. I
yeah.
don't have enough time. There is not enough time. I am not enough. I don't know enough.
Mm,
All of these things are showing up in that space that keeps us on this wheel, just going, 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 going. And we believe we don't have a moment to just be and notice what's in front of us.
and there is a quality in your voice that actually makes me hearken to that thought. Just slow down. Because if we slow down
Mhm.
and consider, you talked about connecting with nature. To me, the ocean. You want to put your problems in a perspective? Sit by the ocean. Now,
Yeah.
how big is what's bothering you? Connecting with nature, if we just sat with the trees, with the birds, or wherever on our decks. Most of us have these beautiful decks that we never sit on
Mhm.
unless company comes. If we did that and allowed our hearts to slow down,
Yeah.
that that heart to beat, the blood pressure to stop, the pulse to slow.
Yes.
When a thought of a new possibility enters our thought process,
Mhm.
we wouldn't be so quick to run from it.
No.
assuming we don't have time to entertain such things.
Mm.
So I ask people to consider the possibility. What would happen if you just slowed down? And you also know my background is also as a minister. I can give you Bible about how when the land is allowed to rest, when people are allowed to rest, it
Mm.
produces more.
Mm.
You want to produce more? Slow down.
Yeah. That rest is such a gift to us.
Yes. Yes.
And it's funny because when you're a kid and you have nap time, you don't want to go. You do everything you
I don't
can.
want to take a nap. Right.
I remember in the summertime, my mom used to make Ovaltine. Did you ever have that growing up?
No, no, ma'am. I've never had Ovaltine. I don't.
Ovaltine, it tastes kind of like chocolate, right?
Okay.
But it was designed to kind of calm you. So you would put it in your milk, you drink Ovaltine. She would make pallets on the floor, the fans would be going, and all of the kids are stretched out on this pallet on the floor, and it was nap time. And it just would take forever to doze off. Like we were fighting sleep the whole time.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now, oh, how I love a good nap. I am the nap queen. It can be a 5-minute nap, a 10-minute nap. Sometimes it turns into an hour, but you know what? I am so much more resourceful and creative when I give myself permission to have that.
That's right. That's right.
And sometimes I don't go to sleep. I just rest my body. Just as my grandmother used to say, go sit your hind parts down somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, going to sit my hind parts down somewhere for a moment. And it does. It gives us a chance to have some resourcefulness,
Hmm.
you know? And then even that taking that moment to just even notice what's in the space that you're in for a moment. Something as simple as noticing, like right now, I'm noticing that my left cheek is more connected to what I'm sitting on than my right. And how might it be to make that adjustment? I hadn't noticed it before because I was too busy talking.
Consider the possibilities that your cheeks may be misplaced.
And just by making that shift, my
Mhm.
spine feels more aligned.
Mhm.
And so just slowing down in order to consider the possibility, it is hard to do it if we're on 100. Yeah. And so even at the age of 50 or more, there's still space for us, right?
Oh my goodness, even more space. I tell people, especially when they get into that age group, wait a minute now. I know there's a message, a societal message that says you need to slow down, you need to start making your way to the pasture and
Yeah.
finding yourself a spot. But you are smarter than you've ever been.
Mm.
You are wiser than you've ever been. You are probably more curious if you allow yourself to be
Yeah.
than you've ever been. You have all the makings right now of somebody who can do great things that you did not have 30 years ago.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is it's not too late. You're not too old. Your
Nope.
dream, your longing is not too small and it's not too big. It is just the right size for you. And now is just the right time for you.
I like that. In
Yeah.
fact, chapter 2 in my book is it consider the possibilities that it's not too late and you're not too old.
Yeah.
May I?
Absolutely.
Okay, just for some discussion. Here's how I start. How did you mark your last birthday? Did
Mm.
you celebrate excitedly with people who matter to you and perhaps some that don't matter as much? Did you spend the day pampering or taking care of yourself? Did you sadly consider the years that have passed or wonder if your life has, so far, been wasted? While some of us look at each birthday like a personal new year, I'm one of those people. Others may view the day with trepidation and even regret. As a girl and teen, I heard this message repeated: never tell your age. I had a teacher in high school who said, if a woman will tell her age, she'll tell anything.
Mm.
These words, barriers to embracing aging, still shape how many view the passage of time. These words tell us not to acknowledge outwardly that we have lived years and learned lessons, but to cultivate the appearance of eternal youth. Seriously, though, what would that look like, being forever 27? No thanks. I just read a blog about a woman who decided to embrace her gray hair and the resistance that she got from everyone, including her father.
Mm.
So we start getting these messages
Mhm.
early on,
Yeah.
um, to cover up. But if we deny the passage of time, then
Mhm.
we also deny all the lessons that we've learned, all
True.
the experiences that we've had, all
Yeah.
the people that we've impacted,
Yeah.
even the mistakes. So you don't get to be 50, 60, 70, 80 without having amazing heartbreaks
Mhm.
and amazing joys
True.
that can inspire other people. Uh, But if you were taught to disdain those things, you won't pursue the possibilities that are still open because you're too busy trying to keep the compass quiet,
Yeah.
and the world won't benefit from the beauty and the lessons that you have for the rest of us.
Mm. And that would be a tragedy for the
Yeah.
world to not benefit
Yes.
and for us to take those lessons with us to the grave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your parents ever tell you? My dad used to say it all the time: the richest place in the world is the graveyard, because
My
that's where
parents
all
didn't,
the
but I
ideas
remember hearing Miles Monroe say that.
are. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true in so many different ways. And even as I'm thinking about, because I don't typically do anything because that prompted me to pause when I read that too. And then hearing you say it again, I don't usually do a big thing around my birthday either. I
Mm.
typically want my time alone.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my thing in
Yeah.
many ways.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want my phone ringing early, all of those kinds of things. I just want quiet.
Okay.
Just give me
Yeah.
my space for a moment. And then I just want to wake up gently
Yes.
when my body
Yes.
says it's time to get up and ease into my day, at my own rhythm and my own pace. That's my gift to myself.
Okay.
Um, However, I do feel it's important for me to acknowledge it a little differently moving forward.
Okay.
Because there is a part of me that sometimes minimizes the day too. It's like, just give me that quote. But there is, if I'm going to be truthful here, there is a part of me that's kind of like, just give me some quiet and then we'll figure the rest out later kind of thing. Um, and I want to explore what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes it can be, you taking care of yourself. One of the ways I take care of myself is these quiet atmospheres where I can
Mhm,
think, I can
mhm,
slow down, I can piddle. I
mhm,
get up early in the morning,
mhm,
not because I'm so diligent, but because I like time to stare out the window and
mhm.
piddle mentally. And so that's me taking care of me
Yeah,
before everyone else comes to me to
yeah,
take care of them. So, yeah, explore, but it may be one of the ways you care for yourself.
Yeah, like I do. I sometimes imagine, I say maybe next year I'll do something like rent a home by the lake or something like that and hang out there for my birthday. And then that way I can connect
Mhm.
with nature, connect with the water, all of these things. That would definitely be celebratory for me. So my celebration is not a turn up as
Mhm.
it is
Mhm.
and I don't necessarily, even though I talk a lot, people think I'm an extrovert and but I actually need time away from other people's energy. Like
Yep.
I need time to reset. I that is very nourishing for me to
Mhm.
go within and then tap back in when I'm well resourced.
Mhm.
So so yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. So
Okay.
anything else you feel is important to share?
I think that we are living in really difficult times. Changes all around us. And I think it's important for all of us to consider what our contributions are
Mhm.
to the world. And you don't get that by being on a hamster wheel of working every day. I know we all have to work. I know we got to pay bills and 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 speaking to our children. Yeah. Yeah, here's something I want to share. When we have children, when we become responsible for another life, it is important to evaluate the ways, the things that you saw as a child and decide, do I want that for my child?
Mhm.
And how do I want to give my child strength to pursue purpose?
Mhm.
Not the dollars, as all of the world say, oh, you need money. Hey, get money.
Mhm.
I'm looking at even the prom pictures. The girls, they come in with the prom dresses and they're throwing fake money around. I'm like, what is that? But
Mhm.
how do we create a world where people are free to explore the possibilities presented to them in life?
Yeah.
That's a, if I had one thing that I would share, probably as we start to wrap, it's that when we look at a situation, as negative as it may appear,
Mhm.
I would encourage people to ask, what possibilities do I have to offer
Mhm.
based on who I am and what matters most?
Mhm.
What are my possibilities here? I tell people that there are, and it's a hard saying, but if we understand that our time on earth is limited,
Mhm.
we move purpose to a higher place of priority. There are um, children who may not understand a grandmother's love
Mhm.
or even a mother's love because there are people with revolutionary style daycares in their hands that they're afraid to operate. They're afraid to launch out because it doesn't look like what's out there.
Yeah.
Because something that you have been gifted with looks different from the way things are.
Mhm.
That possibility can change the world.
It can.
And I think the reason our world feels like such a challenging place right now is because not enough of us are taking a chance on our possibilities, on the possibilities that have been planted inside of us to make a difference. So the next time you look at the news or you look at a situation that causes you tears, there's a book that says, what makes you cry is what you've been called to heal.
Mhm.
So consider the possibilities that what's in you will heal some part of what makes the world cry. That,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's in my Oprah voice. That's good.
And then we girlfriends collapse into silliness. Melanie, you are a whole vibe. Do you remember when we couldn't be free and joyful in our laughter because we had to keep faces on? We
Right.
didn't sound like this at 30
Mhm.
because we were trying to be taken seriously. Now
Right.
we take ourselves seriously, and anybody else can get on board or not.
Yeah. Listen,
Okay.
I'm a grown woman who skips. I love skipping. I
See?
believe that it is impossible to skip and still be mad or sad. And if you don't believe me, and I've done that before, I've been on talks and said, if you don't believe me, I dare you to skip right now and see what happens. And there have been times when we pause and here's a whole Zoom full of women skipping around spaces. And you know what we do? We come back laughing.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, we get to not necessarily have to show up as like, I just feel like it's time to reclaim our leadership experience.
Yes.
And I don't just mean at work, I mean just the way we lead in life. And that it doesn't have to look structured and straightforward and boxed in and stiff and rigid, unless that's who you are. If
Right.
you are rigid and structured in everything you do, then have at it. I'm
Yes.
not. I believe in structured flexibility. So I'm like, let's play with this. Let's have a framework that we play with. And there's some flexibility in how we use this. And there's even flexibility in the framework. We may need to make some adjustments to what this framework looks and feels and is shaped like. It's like, how do we get to show up in the shape of you? And I show up in the shape of me and in the color of you and the color of me. And how do we all play well together? No shape being wrong, no shape being right. It just is, you
And
know?
you know what, Melanie? I got a little bit emotional when you started talking about the women skipping and laughing and being free to show up that way.
Yeah.
Because how often, and I don't know about your childhood, my parents, as I told you, they came from the South, they wanted us to succeed. And
Mhm.
so it was get good grades, go and there was this structure. And sometimes I felt like I was going to school with all the ancestors on my back.
Mhm.
Don't embarrass your grandmother. Don't embarrass and all of that. And so for a lot of little girls who looked like us, childhood was rough in this sense. And
Mhm.
even today, statistics have shown that Black children are viewed as being older and worthy of more punishment, greater punishment, because they appear to be older. And so many of us as girls didn't get to do a whole lot of skipping
Yeah.
because we had to come home and watch sisters and brothers because mama and daddy were at work
Right.
and, come home for lunch and fix soup and all of that other.
Yeah.
So being able to skip, even at the having permission to have joy, to
Mhm.
live joyfully, is
Mhm.
a gift
It is.
that many of us need to go back and embrace
Yeah.
because it is ours. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Like, it seems silly, but when I tell you it can actually lighten the load of a day, or like sometimes when something comes to me that's good and it feels yummy to me, that's my celebration dance, is to skip
Mhm.
around my office,
Mhm.
you know. Um just and it's so I remember it was this dance show that came on, and it was the children were dancers. They
Mm-hmm.
actually were gifted dancers, and the parents take
Okay.
them to practice all the time and things like that. But on this competition, the parent gets to dance with the child. I can't remember the name of the show, but I love that show. And it was
Okay.
so beautiful because now you're not just dropping your child off at practice or watching, you're actually learning a routine together and they get to perform together. And there was this one dad who was a drummer and he was
Uh-huh.
always gone. He was with a band that actually is,
Mm-hmm.
well known. He was on the road a lot. And so he missed time with his art. So he was there and he didn't have much rhythm. But the moral of the story is after one of their performances, the cutest thing was at the end of the performance when she grabbed his hand, the dad and the daughter skipped off the stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was no good. I could have been bought for a half a cent because that just moved me so much to see this grown man, a drummer of a rock band, skipping across the stage on national television with his daughter because they were in that moment. They
Mm-hmm.
were just present to that moment. And so it didn't matter that he was grown.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that he was a person of color.
Yeah.
It mattered that he was present with his daughter in that moment, skipping off to celebrate this experience they had together. And so we're not too old for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And as your shirt so lovingly reminds us, it's possible.
Yes.
All of it. Even a career change after 50.